on May 20th, 2013. He was admitted to DeVos to prepare for a bone marrow transplant. There were 2 identical matches. Unfortunately, he had a match that he was able to have the bone marrow transplant on May 29th. He suffered complications from a virus that he contracted, and he passed away on August 15th, surrounded by his family and friends and both of his beloved dogs at his side.
9 months old, he was diagnosed with chronic neutropenia, which he couldn't fight off bacteria on his own. And then at 2.5 years, he was diagnosed with hyper-IgM syndrome that kind of worked with the chronic neutropenia, and so basically his whole life he's had a artificial immune system.
I have known Ruth, Joey's mom, since I moved to Muskegon as a freshman in high school. She was the first person I met when I moved here, so we've been friends forever, and she's my dearest friend. So I've known Joey and his family since before Joey was born.
I first met Joey when he was a 6th grader, entering our percussion program at the middle school, because I teach 6 through 12, and so I would have known Joey for the last 6 years. Joey was soft-spoken, but very focused, and always very focused on doing the right thing. He was the sort of student who tried to take on extra responsibilities. He studied privately, took private lessons, was always trying to do his best to excel at this activity, which was very, very admirable.
He was a very active little boy. We used to say he would ping off the walls, so he was active. Happy kid, pretty happy kid. He liked robotics. He was on the robotics team at Mona Shores, and like most teenage boys, I think he liked video games. And as a little boy, loved Legos and loved building things.
I knew Joey before robotics for quite a bit, and then when he joined robotics, it was just really cool because then I could see him every day, and he seemed to really enjoy it.
I knew him from robotics programming.
My favorite memory of Joey was when we would discuss video games, just everything about our games that we have and just different video game strategies that we would use.
I'd probably say Gary's Mod.
I would say that Joey's favorite video game was Gary's Mod or Minecraft.
I first met Joey really truly through his parents, who actually came to see me to tell me a little bit more about Joey and his journey, and they asked for some alternatives to his learning, and it was very interesting. My first impression of the parents were, despite his challenges, learning was very important to him. So they didn't want any shortcuts, and so we talked about the Voyager program and how that would be a good fit.
I've known the Hekkemas since my wife and I bought the house across the street from them 11 years ago. You know, the biggest thing I remember about Joey is every time I saw him, he made me laugh. You know, with the exception of the last few months in the hospital. But before then, he always had something funny to say. But the thing I remember most about Joey, he hated it when I told this story, but the very first day that my wife and I were in our house, we were unpacking boxes in the front room, and I heard this noise from outside. It was this beeping sound. But I could tell that it was a human noise and not a mechanical noise. I could tell it was a person making this noise, and I wondered what was going on. So I stood up and looked out the window, and here is this adorably cute little boy, about 5, maybe 6 years old, on his bicycle. And he had gotten his bicycle into the grass. And apparently his mom had told him he wasn't supposed to ride his bicycle in the grass. And so he had his feet on the ground beside the bike and was pushing himself backward. And he was turned around over his shoulder, looking back where he was going, and he was going beep, 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 as he backed up like trucks do to make sure he didn't run into anybody, and everybody knew he was backing up. So I knew right then that I liked the kid, and I found out later that he really was a great kid. And that story has always stuck with me because I think it says a lot about who Joey was, actually. It shows that he was always looking out for other people. more than himself, and he was just a fun-loving kid. I think in some ways he was like me growing up, that I think he related better to grown-ups than he did to his peers in some ways. I know he had some terrific friends in the band, and he loved that band, and I know they loved him back, but he always seemed very comfortable in his own skin, and it didn't matter who he was talking to or how much older or younger they were. He just had a way of relating to everybody and making everybody feel a little better.
I think Joey got along with everyone. He was a kind personality, and he wasn't the sort of student who sought attention. He wasn't one of those "look at me," and he didn't try to make himself the focus of attention. He was just one of those people who went along and always did the right thing, and I think the students really respect that.
I think that he made such an impact on me. He always made me laugh. He makes everyone laugh. His jokes, his sense of humor, his taste in comedy, his movies, his favorite movies, his Big Bang Theory, his Chevy Chase movies, his quotes. He could quote any one of those movies and just make everyone in the room laugh, even at the most inappropriate time. I think so many people never knew that Joey was sick. Never knew to what degree his illness, what it was for him just to go to school. I can remember here, he and another student both had ports, and in the summertime in childcare here, they would lay out in the sun and say, "Let's tan our ports." They both had ports at age 5, and but you would never know that they were still getting into little mischievous boy trouble, but you would never know that he couldn't drink out of the drinking fountain because of the risk of contamination. He had to carry a water bottle. You didn't know those things about him. He didn't wear them on his shirt sleeve. He wore some funny t-shirts, some goofy t-shirts.
I know that making drumline is something that was really, really important to Joey. He was in sideline percussion his first year, which is great, but his goal was always to make the drumline. And it was incredible to see him in a very focused way study privately, work week to week, and accomplish that goal, and to see how happy he was and how proud he was. That is really what I'll always remember about him.
I remember when I received the first phone call that Joey had passed away, and I remember talking with Mr. Boyden, and I know that all of the band students were at band camp, and this is such an emotional news, and I knew that we had to be supportive, but trying to figure out the right support was kind of challenging. And so Director of Guidance Danielle Smith-Walker, Vicki Swanson and Stacy Myers and I, we all talked about how we could support. And we felt the best thing was to be physically there and to share the news. I knew that Mr. Boyden was going to be overwhelmed with the responsibilities, and that really that should come from me, the principal. So I remember when I was in that band shelter cafeteria area outside, and all the students were sitting down and trying to deliver a piece of news to students you care about, who really didn't know what was coming, was kind of tricky, and you needed to be supportive, at the same time reassuring. So I remember the look in their eyes of disbelief, but they knew something was coming because Joey was so sick.
I think initially we weren't sure how to go forward, and I think just the weight of the news made it very, very difficult for us to see a way of moving through camp in a normal way. In the end, I think moving through camp in a normal way was the very best thing that we could have possibly done. Joey loved band camp. That was one of his favorite activities of the whole year. I think Joey would have been devastated if he had known or felt like the students at camp were not having fun. I mean, I think that he would have wanted everyone there to really push forward and continue, and that's really what everyone did. I mean, it doesn't come naturally at first, but I think the students went from activity to activity and worked hard and played hard and really remembered and appreciated how wonderful it is for us to all be together.
Really, truly, I think Joey's inspiration united everyone together. So I'm very proud of the kids, the band parents, how they persevered. I think when I came back to watch some rehearsals, it was amazing how much they pulled off in such short times. And I think this entire fall, the performance on the field really was Joey's work lifting the talent out of the kids. So while that was difficult news to share with the kids, it was important that they felt that support from our counselors and us being there. So it was a journey, no doubt about it.
Okay, everybody's coming to me and they want to know, what can I do for Ruth and Dave? And they said to me, you know, we're all set. Everybody's brought us food, everybody's brought us things, we're good to go. But there's a little guy that needs some help. So let's see if we can't start some kind of fund for kids who need something. And that's where the fund started.
Well, the idea for the foundation actually came from Dave and Ruth and Joey. Even while Joey was fighting for his life this summer, they were talking about how to help other kids participate in the band who couldn't otherwise afford to do it. And really the foundation just builds on that idea to help one kid for 1 year, every year, forever. And I had worked with the Community Foundation on some other projects and knew that they were a good place to have this kind of a fund set up. They had all the infrastructure in place. You didn't have to go through all the IRS rigmarole of setting up a charity of your own and all that. So I knew it was a very easy way to get a fund like this started, and I also knew that the Community Foundation's name would help raise money for the fund, and I think it has.
I set a goal of $10,000. If we raised $10,000, then we could basically fund that on its own for the rest of its life. And just as of Sunday night, we got our $10,000 goal.
It's a terrific achievement. It speaks volumes about Sailor Pride and what a terrific school community we have here.
We haven't done direct fundraising for the foundation itself other than to publicize it with our members. We've sold card decals, but it's been more an opportunity to just raise awareness of what this has done. We had a moment of silence at our first football game. Mrs. Bustard was wonderful and had a really, really nice presentation on the first day of school. Our alumni band dedicated their performance to Joey and raised money for that. And then, of course, the incredible senior class and Mrs. Hunt raised a ton of money through fundraising at homecoming.
When I found out last week that the Student Senate and the tailgating party and everything else, and Mandy for Sale and Mrs. Hunt and everyone who had worked so hard to make that happen, they surpassed the goal to make it a perpetual fund that forever, from here on out, that fund will assist in making sure that other kids have those opportunities. That's a legacy that will go on forever, and that's in Joey's name, and that's because Ruth says Joey would want that. From the start of this journey, I mean, Joey went into the hospital May 20th. He underwent chemo. Right away, all of your kids at the high school, you sent cards, you sent letters, he had posters all over his wall from the band kids, he had t-shirts, he had drumsticks, he had video games, he had videos, he had emails, everything, just reminding him that, hey, we're here for you, bud, we support you. People that didn't know him all came out and just showered him and his family with love, support, prayers, and so much more.
I was blown away when I heard about how much money was raised through the fundraising opportunities this fall. And while I was blown away, it didn't surprise me how far-reaching the community went into their pockets to support this. And what is impressive is that that dollar amount is to support his love, and that is the band. So how more fitting to have those monies go back towards the band.
I had a text the day he made drumline. I got bass. You know, I love that that's all he sent me was I got bass. So, and he was a very kind boy. You know, a lot of people say that they didn't know he was sick, and it's because he didn't want to be known for being sick. He just wanted to be a normal kid. And I think he succeeded at that.
Yeah.
He just wanted to be like everybody else, so he didn't define his life by the disease.
If someone were to ask me what is the one word that I think of when I think of Joey Hekkema, and absolutely the first word that comes to my mind is an absolute inspiration. He is our inspiration. I will keep his photo in my office forever, and when I look at him, it will remind me of how he has inspired us all to be better people and be the best no matter what we face.
Gritty.
An inspiration.
Courageous.
Persevering. Motivational.
Brave. Brave, because this was a lifelong disease. Like I said, people didn't know, but there were lots of hospital stays, lots of medications, lots of IVs, lots of treatment at home.
Lots of shots.
Lots of shots. And he took it, you know. I mean, even as a real little kid, he took it.
When your love dies, you don't ever get over it. You just slowly learn to go on, and you just keep them tucked away safely in your heart.